Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm going to do my review of WWE Smackdown. Starting off tonight, we have a Grayson Waller effect segment, if you will. Cody Rhodes is the special guest, but Grayson grabs a microphone. He mocks Cody Rhodes. Grayson says that Cody's only about himself. He only cares about himself. He's selfish. Cody then praises Kevin Owens. Cody then questions Waller if he was using Austin Theory this whole time. Waller then shows a video package of Kevin Owens kind of being a heel and that he can't be trusted. After that, Kevin Owens shows up. He comes down to the ring. Owens says that him and Cody are friends. Nick Aldis is here. Aldis announced that it would be Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes teaming up versus Waller and Theory in the main event later on that night. And then Owens and Cody end up attacking Waller and Theory. Moving on from that, we go into our first official match of the night. It's for the U.S. title. It is LA Knight defending the U.S. title against Santos Escobar. I thought it was a good match, man. It was a back-and-forth matchup between LA Knight and Santos Escobar. Legado del Fantasma attacked LA Knight. Escobar was keeping the pace of the match. Escobar then hits a frog splash off the top rope on LA Knight for a near fall. LA Knight then gets up, hits an elbow drop off the top on Santos. And then LA Knight hits the finish, pins for the 3. And your winner of the match and still U.S. champion is LA Knight. Hats off to LA Knight for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next match of the night. It is a 6-women tag team matchup. It is Isla Dawn teaming up with Blair Davenport and Alba Fire versus Naomi, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill. It was a good match. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Naomi, Belair, and Cargill keeping the pace of the match. Jade then hits a choke slam. Naomi then hits a moonsault off the top rope. Pins for the 3. And your winners of the match are Naomi, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill. Hats off to Naomi, Belair, and Cargill for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our next segment of the night. It is a Bloodline segment. Solo Sikoa comes out to the ring with the Bloodline. Solo grabs a microphone and says he wants the fans to acknowledge him. He mocks Roman Reigns. Solo then said he wants a title opportunity next for the WWE Championship. Solo then asks Jacob Fatu to relinquish his tag team title to Tonga Loa. He tells Fatu if he's going to be his enforcer and his bodyguard that he is not going to be tag team champion. Solo then says Fatu, like I said, will not be tag team champion. He gives the belt to Tonga Loa, and it looks like Jacob Fatu is no longer carrying the other half of the tag team championships. Moving on from that, we go into an impromptu matchup. It is for the WWE tag team titles. It is the Bloodline, Tonga Loa and Tama Tonga versus the Street Profits. I thought it was a good match, man. It was a back and forth matchup. The Bloodline were keeping the pace of the match. Montez Ford hits an enziguri. Ford then hits a frog splash for a near fall off the top rope. Fatu then attacks Angelo Dawkins. Tama then hits the finish, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are the Bloodline. After the match, the Bloodline attack Montez Ford. DIY come out to the ring. They attack the Bloodline, but Jacob Fatu ends up attacking DIY. Hats off to the Bloodline for getting the win in that matchup. Moving on from that, we go into our main event of Friday Night Smackdown. It is Kevin Owens teaming up with Cody Rhodes versus Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. I thought it was a decent match. Back and forth matchup between both teams with Owens and Rhodes keeping the pace of the match. Cody hits a Cody Cutter. Rhodes then hits a crossroads in the middle of the ring, and then Owens hits a pump-up powerbomb, pins for the 3, and your winners of the match are Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. After the match, Kevin Owens goes to grab the WWE title. He looks like he was going to hit Cody Rhodes with that belt, but he ends up handing the belt to Cody Rhodes, playing it off, and then pretty much yelling at Waller and Theory. A couple of things I want to talk about with SmackDown, man, quickly before I get out of here. Was it a good show? Yeah. I mean, the main roster right now for SmackDown and Raw and SmackDown are firing on all cylinders. I mentioned it now for the past couple of weeks, and it kind of gets to a point where I sound like a broken record, but at the same time, Raw and SmackDown as of late have delivered. Obviously, everybody's getting excited and the build-up leading up to Bash in Berlin, and that's exactly what pretty much happened on SmackDown, especially when it pertains to Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. Now, do I think Kevin Owens is going to go back to his old ways? It's a possibility, especially after the match they had against Waller and Theory, where you see Kevin Owens grab the WWE title and goes a little like he was going to hit Cody Rhodes with that belt, but instead hands it quickly to Cody Rhodes, plays it off, and then starts yelling at Waller and Theory. So I don't know, man. Maybe we get the old school Kevin Owens, the heel Kevin Owens, going up against Cody Rhodes. I think it's going to be a tall task for Cody Rhodes when it comes to Bash in Berlin, but I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup. But, obviously we have Raw tonight. We have Smackdown leading up to this Friday. It's pretty much the go-home show leading into Bash in Berlin this weekend. So I'm definitely looking forward to that PLE, Bash in Berlin. We got a lot of great matches lined up for that event. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I think Cody Rhodes has had a great run with that title. Hell of a career since he's been with WWE, and it continues to keep growing consistently every single week. So definitely looking forward to what's going to happen with that match with Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens. And like I said, man, will Cody Rhodes walk out of Bash at Berlin still WWE champion, or will it be Kevin Owens that walks out Bash at Berlin the new WWE champion? It's still yet to be seen, but who knows, man. In my honest opinion, I think Cody Rhodes will beat Kevin Owens, but you never know. That's the biggest thing I can say about WWE. You just never know. The other thing I want to talk about, the news that I just found out, even though this did not happen last Friday, this is Smackdown reviews coming out today. Looks like there was some news that broke that Sid Vicious, Sycho Sid, ended up passing away today, and I wanted to talk briefly about that. There was news that came out all over Twitter and stuff like that Sycho Sid had passed away. He was battling cancer, from what I understand, and he ended up passing away. So I just wanted to briefly talk about Sycho Sid. As a fan, I was a big fan of Sycho Sid. His theme music was synonymous in professional wrestling. The matches that he's had in his career, obviously the match that he had with Shawn Michaels is synonymous in WWE. I believe that was the Royal Rumble at the Alamo Dome, where it was Sid Vicious versus Shawn Michaels for the WWE title. And at that time, I believe Shawn Michaels was being managed by Jose Lothario, and it was live from San Antonio, Texas, I believe. And it was a big, big deal for Shawn Michaels and as well as Sid Vicious. And Sid Vicious had a crazy career. From his time in WWE to his time over in WCW. I remember he had a match with Sting in WCW. I know he was World Heavyweight Champion over in WCW towards the end of WCW's tenure, working with Time Warner Media. Also, he had some great moments and matches in ECW. He's had a crazy, crazy career, and he will be sorely missed. Like I said, man, I was a big fan of Sycho Sid growing up. It was kind of my generation when I started watching pro wrestling at the time. A little bit before the Attitude Era, Sycho Sid was one of those big heels that came into WWE, and, was just devastating people, man, with that power bomb. The power bomb that he landed was absolutely brutal. And he's had a hell of a career, but from what I understand, like I said, rest in peace to Sycho Sid. I found out today, a lot of people were talking about it, that he ended up passing away today. And I just wanted to pay my respects to the late, great Sycho Sid, Sid Vicious, and rest in peace and Godspeed to Sycho Sid. And again, my hearts and prayers go out to his loved ones and his family during this difficult time. But I just wanted to touch bases on that and let you guys know what was going on. But it's sad, man. Obviously it's a part of life, and it's one of those things where you never know when's going to happen. But again, I was a big fan of Sycho Sid. I was kind of shocked by it, to be honest with you. I'm not like a super fan of Sycho Sid, don't get it twisted. But he was still a great wrestler, and I was also a big fan of him. And everybody, my thing is with that, even being a fan of professional wrestling, you guys, obviously come here, check out the podcast. I'm sure you guys are wrestling fans, or at least I hope so. And everybody's had that favorite wrestler, man, that they grew up watching, that, when they find out they pass away or something like horrific happens or horrible happens, man, it strikes that nerve, that emotion. I can go down the list of some of the guys that passed away. I know everybody was shocked. As a fan, for me, the biggest emotion that was taken away from me, as far as being a fan of a professional wrestler that passed on. I'm sure I'm not the only one when I say this, was when Eddie passed away. When Eddie Guerrero passed away, man, it shocked the world. It was devastating, man. I remember seeing him. I remember my stepdad one time took me to a live event, and I'll never forget. It was like 2003, and it was like my first time going to a wrestling event in a very, very long time. And I got to see Eddie Guerrero wrestle live. I think it was like a steel cage match. It was one of the live events, and I got to see him wrestle live, and it was just great. It was like the pinnacle of his career. He was WWE champion at that time, and it was just great. I believe it was either he was champion at the time, or it was Batista, and he was tagging with Batista around that time. But it was just, when he had passed away, it was one of those things, man. It shocked a lot of fans. It shocked the hell out of me. It was sad, man. You know, it really was. It caught a lot of people off guard. Obviously, the Chris Benoit situation, which a lot of fans are up in arms, obviously up in arms about, which I understand. And I was, it was sad, but it was also like one of those stories where it was, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, everybody was shocked by it. Everybody was, blown away by it. Everybody was sad. Everybody was like, that whole Benoit situation, and nobody knew what the hell was going on. And I know as far as, and I've said this from the day one, I'm not going to shy away from it. As far as what Benoit did inside that squared circle, bell to bell, I think Benoit, wrestling-wise, is one of the best wrestlers that ever lived. In my honest opinion, Benoit is the wrestler, and what he did inside that ring, to me, he took it to the max every single time he stepped in front of those ropes and got in that ring. His personal life, that's a whole other situation. But it was one of those things that it definitely shocked a lot of people when Benoit passed away. Eddie Guerrero. I told you guys before, if you guys been here since day one, that I was still am, a huge Randy Savage fan. I grew up idolizing Randy Savage. I was a huge fan of him. Randy Savage really got me into wrestling as far as being a fan, and when he passed away a while ago, it was sad, man, but I understand that it happens. It's just unfortunate. We just lost Alpha as well for the Wild Samoans. And again, my hearts go out to the Anawahu family, and my thoughts and prayers go out to them as well. It's one of those things. It's unfortunate, man. And, Vader. Vader's another one. I was a huge, huge fan of Vader and Bigelow. And I grew up watching those guys. Yokozuna. Yokozuna made a humongous impact in the short career that he had, man. I mean, it just, we don't have those guys. And Razor Ramon. Scott Hall was another one. I was a huge fan of Razor. And what Razor did, he was the bad guy that everybody loved. And, we also lost, Scott Hall, and I was a huge fan of Razor. And Scott Hall had a hell of a career too, man. From being Razor Ramon to being a part of the, the Clique, to being a part of one of the biggest factions of professional wrestling history with the NWO. I mean, Hall and Nash, they started that. The Outsiders, man. Everybody remember, if you watched WCW back in the day, and I was a huge WCW fan. I know some people are like, oh, WCW's trash. Everybody has their opinion, fine. But I was a huge WCW fan, and to see, Hall and Nash come over and see what Hall did over in WCW and the Outsiders, and they just changed the game forever. And it was just awesome. So again, I just wanted to touch bases with you guys about the Sid Vicious situation, for what I have found out, that unfortunately he did pass away, and my hearts and my prayers go out to his family. And like I said, rest in peace to Sid Vicious, and Godspeed. And it's definitely unfortunate, but it does happen. But again, as fans, we can always celebrate his legacy and what, that person, did for us fans in their WWE career, man. It's always those memories that we'll always have from those men and women that have, wrestled and passed on. And we'll always have those memories, man. Even with, the people that I mentioned, with Eddie Guerrero and Randy, Vader, Alpha, Wild Samoans, you know what I mean? Like, we'll always have those memories, and like, oh man, I remember that back in the day. Or I remember when Randy had wrestled Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3, and it was, match quality wise, it beat Andre and Hogan, or when Randy married Miss Elizabeth, you know what I mean? Like, everybody's going to have those moments. Or when Guerrero beat Lesnar for the world title, for the Undisputed Championship, and the crowd went crazy, and he went on that hell of a run with that belt. And, just those memories, man. Like, that's my biggest thing. It's unfortunate, but it's not something that, like, you want to dwell on. You want to dwell on what they did and the moments that you had as a fan, as a kid, growing up watching professional wrestling and seeing those moments. Everybody remembers Shawn versus Sid at Royal Rumble in San Antonio, when Shawn was walking out to the ring with Jose Lothario, and the deck was stacked against Shawn Michaels, because no one thought that Shawn was going to beat Sid, and he ended up beating Sid Vicious. You know what I mean? Like, it was just those moments, like those matches that happened at the Royal Rumble, like between Shawn and Sid, and what Sid did in his career. Sid showing up at ECW and pretty much shocking the world, and pretty much decimating everybody in ECW with those power bombs. It was just great, man. And I think that, as fans, is one of those things where it's the moments. You know what I mean? I think that's really what it comes down to. And I don't want to preach to you guys. I'm just saying, like, I don't think a lot of people, like, and maybe myself included, I don't think we really understand, like, what you have is like, don't let it pass you by, is what I'm saying. Like, I mean, not just with people that pass on. Like, look at other promotions and companies that are no longer here. Like, for example, NXT Black and Gold, and what they did for us fans, and what Triple H and Shawn Michaels did with those independent talents that nobody really knew of, and made them into superstars like Johnny Gargano and Ciampa and, you know, Aleister Black, stuff like that. And, you know, WCW and what they did for pro wrestling fans, the Monday Night Wars, you know what I mean? Like, we'll never have that kind of stuff again, where it was just crazy moments, you know what I mean? And some of those guys still wrestle. You know, look at Sting. Sting just showed up at All In, and, you know, it looks like Sting can go another 5 years. You know what I mean? He looks great. He looks phenomenal, man. He looks like he can wrestle for another 5 years easily. And he had a hell of a career in AEW. Fantastic. You know, it's just one of those things where it's unfortunate, but for me as a fan, as an individual myself, it's always like, it's unfortunate they passed on, but it's always one of those things where you got those crazy memories of what they did in the ring. You know what I mean? As a fan. And it's always something that you can just look back on and be like, damn, you know, it was awesome to see, and it's some great moments. And I mean, and maybe not the greatest moment for Sid, but I don't know if I think he had a match in WCW one time where he jumped off the top rope and he broke his leg, and it was just like, man, I think it was a match with him and Scott Steiner, and it just looked brutal. You know what I mean? But and again, there's some fans that weren't fans of Sid Vicious. I mean, to me, I was a fan. I was a fan of Sid. I think Sid's entrance music was synonymous. You know, that horror music, that Sycho Sid music, you know what I mean, with that like the eeriness around it, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say it's Undertaker-ish, because Undertaker's entrance music and theme is just, no one's going to top that. I trust me, I get that. I'm not putting Sid Vicious in the same category as Undertaker, so everybody just pump the brakes a little bit. But I'm saying, as far as entrance theme music for people to come out to, I mean, it was synonymous. I mean, a lot of wrestlers had that music that's just like, holy shit. Like I said, Undertaker, Mankind, when he used to come out to the ring, you know, old school Mankind, when he would come out to the ring, Kane, you know what I mean? Like, those once those theme songs hit, man, they just like it gets you into the mood, you know what I mean? It's like, holy shit, it's about to go down, you know what I mean? Like, the shit gets real. And then you look at like other people too, like the Brood. I used to love the Brood entrance when it was like, you know, Gangrel, Christian, and Edge, and it's a great theme. The Hardy Boys. Every time that theme song hit back in the day with the Hardys, it was just awesome. You get to see Jeff, Matt, Lita, Team Extreme. It was just great. The Dudley Boys. You know, it's just those moments is what I'm saying to y'all, man. It's unfortunate, and like I said, it's sad. My heart and prayers go out to Sid's, you know, Psycho Sid's family. But for me as a fan, it's always going to be like, yeah, it's unfortunate and it's sad, but I'm always going to remember the memories of what these men and women have put into the ring and gave us fans. And I think as fans, we should all do the same thing. But again, man, SmackDown last night, or SmackDown Friday night, it wasn't a bad show. You know, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the main roster's firing on all cylinders, man, and they're doing a great job. It's a great build-up leading up to Bash at Berlin. I'm definitely excited for that. I will be covering that show. I know some people, you know, were kind of upset that I wasn't able to do a all-in previewing predictions. I was having a little bit of internet issues, so unfortunately I didn't have time to do it. I was messing with that, which was a pain, but I do apologize for that. But I will be covering Bash in Berlin this weekend. Definitely excited for that. There's a couple matches on there that I definitely look forward to seeing. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre in the strap match is going to be insane. Gunther, first title defense against Randy Orton. You know, does Gunther walk out of Bash in Berlin World Heavyweight Champion, or does Randy Orton make history? You know, that's a big deal. Then you got, obviously, Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens for the WWE Championship. So there's a lot of stuff going down leading into Bash in Berlin this weekend, especially even with the Judgment Day. You know, Rhea Ripley teaming up with Damian Priest against Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. I'm definitely looking forward to that match there, too. There's a lot of hostility there between the new Judgment Day and Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest. But again, SmackDown wasn't that bad of a show. Just pretty much the build-up leading towards Bash at Berlin. But with that being said, this is my review of WWE SmackDown. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic.